Hello. This is the first in a series of videos that we're going to try and do. And normally, maybe in the future, actually, it'll be a live stream that we'll do. But not today. We're just going to start with a recorded version. So the idea here is that we're just going to look at websites and tell you what we like about them, tell what we don't like about it, see if there's ways to improve. Um, my name is Joe Hinckley. I'm a web developer. This is my friend Chase. He is a graphic
Hello?
designer. Hi, Chase. So, yeah, I don't know if there's really anything more to say about it than that. We're just gonna take a look at it and then be prepared. Sometimes we might get stuff wrong, and then we'll Google it, and then we'll try and make corrections as we go. But hopefully, we can come up with a bunch of stuff that will be helpful. Are you ready to take a look, Chase?
I am so ready. I'm a designer because I have a mason jar with tea in it.
Perfect. Did you
So I'm
have
caffeinated, I'm ready,
have you had your
I'm
can
artsy.
have you had your can of tuna today, or is that later?
No, not today. That's more of a later in the day occurrence.
Okay.
Um,
All
I'm
right.
fasted right now.
But you got the tea, you got the mason jar. I think that's everything we need.
That's all I need. Yeah.
All right, so now we're looking. I'm telling this for Chase because he can't see the screen. He just sees my shared screen on Discord. Chase, now we're looking at the website.
Okay.
So, Juliet, we think it's called Juliet Chocolate Factory. At first, we thought it was Juliet Chocolate Factory in Romeo, Michigan, but they're not in Romeo. They're in Washington, Michigan. So we don't really know what the Romeo means. We think it's like Romeo and Juliet, like Shakespeare, but we're not exactly sure. It's just like it's a little confusing. It looks great. I really like the logo. It looks cool. Chase, you'd agree on that, right?
Yeah, the logo looks cool. It uses like a sort of like a curly like Willy Wonka text that you'd associate with a chocolate factory. But
Right.
other than resizing the Romeo, Michigan, or changing that so it's actually the location of the business, that seems like that would really help.
Yeah.
Um, because otherwise it's kind of confusing. Like Chocolate Factory Romeo is kind of how you read it because
Right.
they're all the same size. So
Yeah. I mean, like just like what they do with Juliet, where it's in a different font, different size. That kind of distinguishes it from the rest.
yeah,
The way that they have Romeo makes it seem like it's all part of the same thing. So, other than that, it's a cool looking logo. And the one thing that we would say about this whole navigation design and how it affects the header of the website, because the logo is a taller logo, having it big and in the center just makes that nav taller, and then it pushes a lot of the content down to the point where it's almost below the fold and you can't see it. Your header is very important. Like that's where the main information is going to be, and that's where most people are going to form their first impressions of your business. Usually, within the first 15 seconds, they'll say, "Oh, this looks like it's worth my time," or not, and then they'll leave or they'll stay. Um, if they decided to make a longer subhead for this at some point, or if they wanted to change the heading, the main heading in their header, it might push content just off the screen. So probably a better configuration, I would think, for the nav on this is move that logo to the left and then bring the links in the nav to the right. It's going to make that main nav smaller, shorter, and then it's going to allow that content to come up and take its place where people are actually going to read it.
yeah, having two sets of links where there's online store policies about us, contact us, and then shop all products, shop our collections, fudge and blog. Having two different sections of links is kind of confusing.
Mm-hmm.
They should kind of all be in the same place and well organized. Otherwise, your eyes are kind of darting between which even set of links are you supposed to be looking at.
Right. I mean,
Um,
that's another thing that you can easily overwhelm somebody with especially with the navigation on a website. It's called decision fatigue. If you present them with too many options, they'll just kind of go like, "Oh, that's just too much to get into," and then they'll just like forget all of it. They'll just keep going. So, if you present them with too many options, like you have the links in the blue nav bar up the top, then you have the search button, the account button, the cart button, shop all products, shop our collections, fudge block. That's so many options, and then you also have the social media icons in the top right, which is kind of in and of itself, besides it being just an additional thing to look at, an additional option to click on, it's not necessarily what you want people to be doing when they go to your website. First thing they see, social media icons. So as soon as someone comes to your website, they're leaving. You know, if they click those buttons, they're already gone. So unless that's your goal, unless your goal is for your website to be a promotion for your social media, you probably want that to be more of a secondary item. Move that farther down, have its own section where you plug your social media, or just put it in the footer, because you don't want people just leaving right away. Okay, so I think that handles the nav. Do you want to move on to the header, Chase?
Yeah.
Okay.
Roll down.
So, should we start with the copy, you think, or should we start with the video?
I feel like we should discuss the video because it's the most distracting thing to me.
Okay.
With
Yeah,
the
I mean,
video,
yeah, go
Joe
ahead.
mentioned earlier while we were discussing this, that looks like he's hacking a beehive. It sort of looks maybe not what you'd imagine when it comes to a chocolate factory. I know seafoam is something that's served. I'm not super familiar with seafoam.
Me
Maybe
either.
this chocolate factory is like known for their seafoam, but other than that, like I don't know if it's necessarily a good idea to feature this on the homepage. I mean, if it was going to be seafoam, maybe show it in like maybe a more attractive setting than like a guy like a scene from Breaking Bad, or like a guy who's dressed up in like some like sanitary outfit, like hacking it. I mean, it looks like it could be contorted as being like a crime scene of whatever's going on. I don't really
It
understand.
does look like forensic research of some kind.
Yeah, it looks like we're in a lab and like testing chemicals and you know.
Yeah.
And the
So,
scene is so long. Like we're looking at this guy hack the stuff and then he eventually like holds it up to the camera. It's like 40 seconds of, you know,
well,
content that just doesn't really need to be there.
like I mentioned in the beginning, your header is your first impression. That's where you can kind of pitch people in that first 15 seconds where they're making a decision whether they're going to stay or go. And you want to use your header as a way to say, this is what we do, and this is the kind of experience you can have here. You know, this is the benefit that we provide, and you know, the a nice successful outcome that you can achieve if you come and do business with us, or you come to our store, you order our chocolates online, or whatever you do. So
Here's him holding it up to the camera. Yeah.
yeah,
All
so
right.
this isn't necessarily, I imagine, the experience you're going to have if you go to the store. You're probably not going to go into the back room on a metal table and start hacking away at a piece of candy like this. So in the case of then kind of transitioning to the copy, an old fashioned candy, or maybe you would say an old fashioned chocolate shop or an old fashioned candy store. People love the nostalgia of an old fashioned candy place.
Yeah.
So even if it were just a photo of your shop, if your shop kind of has a cool old fashioned look to it, people are going to love that. They're going to say, "Oh, what a cool place to go," and we can take a photo in front of the store or whatever. You know, it's just like that added benefit, added value of showing the kind of experience that you can have if you go to this old fashioned chocolate factory. So, video headers can be cool, but they also slow down your website a lot. So if you're going to use a video header, just make sure you're presenting yourself in the best light using the video. I would argue maybe this isn't your best feature or your best angle of attracting people to your store.
Yeah. And like it's not to say that there can't be like background scenes of candy being made or just shots in your store. Like the process of manufacturing candy is really cool. But like this isn't particularly interesting to look at. Like if there was an actual like cook like sort of decorating, the sweets with some sort of topping or glaze or like a montage of all these different shots of you producing the candy other than just this singular shot of this guy again hacking up,
Mm-hmm.
a beehive. I don't think it's just not very productive. It doesn't really excite you about the store. This makes it look more like it's a manufacturing plant than it is like a chocolate factory or a chocolate store.
Yep, for sure. So then moving to the copy that they have on the header, I really like the angle that they're going for, especially as a local place that's trying to appeal to local SEO and local traffic and people saying like coffee shop or not coffee shop, uh, candy shop near me, chocolate factory near me. saying old fashioned candy, that's something that people are going to Google. You know, they might Google old fashioned candy, old fashioned chocolate. And then if they're going to say chocolate shop or chocolate factory in Michigan, here you go right away. Because if you have this stuff, if you have these important keywords in your header, especially in your H1 tag, which is just your most important tag on your website, it's what Google looks at when they're trying to like discern information or capture data about your website that then informs its rankings of search results. They're going to look in the H1 tag. Google looks in the H1 tag. So having Michigan and Seafoam Candy and Old Fashioned Candy all in your H1 tag is fantastic. Um, then then there's the crunchy and melt in your mouth delicious. Maybe from a design perspective, Chase, that's not a very
Yeah, it's
effective
a
way to
little
display it.
small. The font's pretty thin, so it's kind of difficult to read. There's not a lot of contrast between the white that is in that font and the background, so the background needs to be darker, the font needs to be bigger. Like it needs to be, I think overall, just all of the font needs to be bigger. Each section of those font needs to be bigger, because otherwise you're just distracted by the background. But
Yep. And
especially this background.
I understand that. I mean, a lot of clients, they have a video and they like their video. Like this is clearly shot on a pretty decent camera. Or it might even be shot on a phone,
Yeah,
but it's HD video. People want it to be vibrant. People want it to pop. I can understand that sentiment. But there just needs to be some way that you can have the video but not compromise the readability, because the words are going to be your most important thing. That's what's going to communicate. Like we said, unless there's a better photo here, like we said, you want to be able to visually represent what the experience and what a great outcome you can provide through your business. And this doesn't necessarily do it. So the most important thing here is the words, because the words are much more clear about the message of your store. We think anyway. We assume that it's just a chocolate factory, and we're currently looking at the back room.
right.
So there's lots of things you can do. Typically on a website builder, like I think this is a Squarespace site, and Chase is a little bit more familiar with Squarespace than I am. But typically there is a way to add an overlay to your backgrounds that then
Yeah,
creates more contrast with the text. Or you can surround your text in a box. So if you put this in a white box and put that in the middle of the screen and then put some white, made the text black, the contrast can be great. You're gonna be able to read it just fine. And we'll actually see that later on down on this homepage that they use that technique, and I think it works pretty well. Anything else to say there, Chase, or should we move on?
I guess for the crunchy and melt in your mouth delicious, 'cause I feel like that could probably be changed, as you mentioned earlier, to something that's
Right,
more appealing to want to go in the store, like some sort of a selling point, like come on in and get a free lollipop, or taste some of the candies in our store for free, or
right,
you know, I
or
mean that's just sort of a generic phrase that you could use for anything that you eat,
right.
you know. So
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad descriptor, and like it's a good thing, but it doesn't really differentiate you from anything else. Um, you could say that
yeah,
about like like trail mix, or something. You could say that just about anything. Crunchy and melt in your mouth, delicious. So yeah, talk again. I think that they have a great selling point just in nostalgia. If they're an old fashioned candy place, an old fashioned chocolate factory, there's your angle. People love nostalgia. So maybe talk more about the atmosphere of that. Bring your kids, or like all of our employees are dressed up in old fashioned attire, or whatever it is that might be like, oh, that would be really cool to come and check out. Okay, next one.
in this first section of the website is arguably like the most important. Like when people first initially load this page, they're gonna see this and they're gonna be like, "Oh, I don't know if I want that," and they're gonna leave,
Right.
because people's attention span is only a few seconds.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna put a video, especially in your header, it's gotta be something really good, especially because also it slows down your site, like it adds to the performance of your site. So
Yep.
um, you gotta be picky about it.
New product. I think it's great to feature products. I mean, that's what you do. That just kind of reinforces what you do, and it gives people a taste of what they can expect, or what they can now go and look for more on your store. Because clearly, this is an e-commerce store. Now they go like, oh, they have these. Those look good. Well, I wonder what else they have. Or like, these look good. I'll buy these. Or if I go into the store, this is what they're going to have. Um, no problem conceptually. I don't feel any real problem with featuring this. I think where the problems lie, and Chase, you tell me if you agree. The photo is maybe not the most appetizing photo, and then
Yeah.
also new product maybe does not stand out to the degree maybe you would want an announcement of a new product to stand out.
Yeah. Yeah, the new product text is almost the same size as the product, the milk chocolate sea salt caramel pretzel wrap. So
Right.
it's not really you might as well not even have new product there because your eyes just don't even really know where to look first. So, so either new product needs to be a lot bigger, or it needs to be a different color, or there needs to be like better spacing to sort of communicate that this is its own section. And one thing I think is that you can feature more than one product because so far we've scrolled two full screens down. We're looking at a whole new section that takes up the whole screen from the home
Mm-hmm.
page, and we've only seen two products. We've seen Seafoam and we've seen these pretzel rods.
Right.
Like if you imagine a chocolate factory, there's tons of products that you want to be looking at. So it doesn't have to be just one product. You could feature two or even three. As long as they have good product images, as long as as long as they look appetizing, they have good titles,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I think
Well, we'll notice throughout the site on like the image thing. They're very some actually of their images are great. And we'll see those later, but most of them, a lot of the product images appear to be just they got a new shipment or they just made a new batch and they're all packaged and then they just put them down on a table and take a photo. Again, use what you have around you to enhance the value of your product.
yeah,
A big part of what you do, and I'm going to sound like a broken record. Old fashioned candy, old fashioned chocolate shop. That's your atmosphere. That's a selling point. People like that. Put the candy on the front of your store counter and then have the background be the inside of your store. Like take it from like where the cashier would sit. Take it from there. Do portrait mode on your phone. You don't need a nice camera. Give it a nice blurry background that just kind of gives a little bit of the atmosphere and then presents the food in more of a natural setting.
yeah,
This feels very cold. Cold is not the right word, but it just feels
right.
very kind of almost like scientific, or I don't even medical or
Yeah.
something.
It feels commercial, like a supplier is looking at
Yeah,
this
like a
and
warehouse or something. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I think that like when you're dealing with products, or I think even in the case services, you want to like present like the ideal circumstance to the customer, the client, or whatever. So like for instance, like food commercials that you see on TV for like McDonald's or Burger King, they don't show you the food that's like in the bag.
right.
They like do like these fun these fun illustrations, these fun animations of like the food like falling together and assembling the burger. Like you get the experience of the food like in your face, like on the TV screen as if you're about to eat it, so it makes you hungry.
Yeah,
So the same thing could be said about this candy, present it in a way that's appetizing.
yeah.
And unfortunately, keeping it in the bag where you can barely even see the color and the texture of it even
Well,
just isn't
we're
it's not
gonna
very appetizing.
now like doing something like a McDonald's commercial or Burger King commercial for Juliet Chocolate Factory might be out of budget, but they have other pictures on. No,
Right.
I understand, but they have other pictures on this website where they do a great job presenting it, and it's not done in a super overdone way or a super expensive way. It's done in a very simple way. So we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in just a second. Okay, next one. So
Product images are kind of suffering from the same fate
right,
as the last one where they're in the same package, they're not um, presented in a way that's particularly appetizing. And unfortunately, I don't know, this may be the fault of, cost savings or whatever, but like the packaging in the photos on the products, like for instance on the potato chips, where it just has like bold potato chips and then really small text that you can't even see in the image. It's not very appetizing. It's not very attractive looking packaging.
mm-hmm.
So that's like a whole issue by itself. So I don't think you should be taking a photo of your products in the package. But it doesn't help that the packaging doesn't look great. Maybe if the
Right.
packaging looked really neat, really cool, like on, I think it'd be a lot easier to advertise if it was colorful, you know, if it was really descriptive, if it just doesn't really feature that here. It just looks kind of cheap in a sort
Right.
of way, almost like it's a commercial supplier, like we were saying before.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah. The yeah photos for sure. I would say also with the copy that's written here. I think it's like we talked about. Show more of your products. So here's an example of them showing more of their products. Now you're missing out on the buy now and the add to cart feature, which would be nice to see here, and maybe that would be better off than this kind of subhead descriptive text that's below because a lot of it appears to be kind of filler. Michigan made, better made potato chips doesn't really. It tells you that it's local, so maybe that's something worth saying. But don't really know what better made potato chip. And we already know it's potato chips, so we don't really know what better made is. Covered in our delicious milk chocolate blend. We already know they're milk chocolate from the title, and we have them in dark chocolate. So I think you could probably just say locally made milk chocolate and dark chocolate potato chips. You could probably fit a lot of
yeah.
that just in the title, and then have a buy now add to cart button instead of the text because you're just kind of if you're not adding a lot of valuable information in your text, it's just more work for people, or more reason that they go like, oh, I don't want to read that, especially like the non, I don't know how to pronounce it, non-pareils, however you pronounce the third one. It's kind of
Yeah, I
long,
don't know.
and it doesn't necessarily say a whole lot. So it says they have milk, dark, and white chocolate. Um, it's not, there's not a lot more that's really valuable there other than that. So add that to the title and call it good, I think.
Yeah, if you can communicate the same thing, like how great our candy is in in fewest words possible, that's mostly, I mean, that's pretty much ideal for titles and for descriptions, because people don't want to be. I mean, for one thing, if you look at the three descriptions that are underneath each of the products, they get like increasingly bigger. Like the the first one uses the least amount of words. The second one uses a little more. There's another
Right,
line, and then the next one has two more lines underneath for the non-Pirellis or however you pronounce that. So there should be less text, and there should also be a balance of text because it just
right.
helps with the responsiveness of your
And
website.
it also
So
just looks, it
you're just
looks, it,
adding more white space that doesn't need to be there because it's being stretched because of the text.
yeah, and
Um,
it just looks cleaner. It just looks cleaner and simpler.
yeah,
The other thing I'll say is like, so here they're trying to kind of tap into that nostalgic selling angle with the non. I probably should have looked it up. Non-pareils. I don't know how to say it. I'm sorry. But remember eating snow caps at the movie theater. Um, that's a bit of nostalgia. So you don't have to put it there. Your whole thing is nostalgia. How about a nice heading that goes above these products? So like uh, candy that tastes as good as when you were a kid, or something like that. Like just some kind of nostalgic heading that introduces the products as like these are going to be so good, like you remember them, or like go back in time and experience candy like you're a kid, or something like that just makes it more fun and appealing and taps into that nostalgic quality.
the pronunciation is non-Perez. It must be French. I'm assuming because it has a silent pronunciation, of course.
Okay, because I first read it,
Um,
I non Perez. I first read it as non Pirelli, but then I realized that the E and the I are switched, and I thought so. Then I had in my head it was Italian because I
yeah,
mispronounced
that'd be the Italian pronunciation.
it. Yeah.
It's Pirelli or Pere or whatever, however you want to pronounce it.
Okay, so I think we've covered everything we want to cover there. Here's a great example. They did great on this.
I don't know. This image is great. Whether or not it's theirs, I'm hoping it's theirs. It'd be nice if it was theirs.
But even if it
It's
isn't
not just
theirs,
some stock
they
photo.
can do that. You just put some nice sprinkles and you get real close with a macro lens, or like there's a lot of new iPhones now have like macro mode and you can get super close and take photos. Or take a photo in portrait mode. It kind of gives that nice blurry background, and then just zoom in and crop it in. Um, it's gonna look great. So
Yeah,
I don't have any. This is a great way to market the product, I think.
yeah, yeah. I think so too. It looks good. It looks appetizing. It's not in the product packaging. Every photo should look like this, or at
Okay.
least as close to this as you can. As you can cheaply afford. At least just take it out of the packaging, and it would look more like this.
Right.
You know.
Here they kind of do what we were saying with titles. Just make the titles a little bit longer. They're probably even a little long in this one, but and then again with the photos. The photos are like you were looking at this earlier, Chase, and you were like, this is an improvement over like the packaging photos.
Yeah, because they took it out of the packaging. They even have a photo of like, you know, a young lady making the chocolate, so that's good. I
Yeah.
mean, it makes it more personal. It makes it feel like they're actually a factory that's producing chocolate as opposed to just like receiving shipments of all these like packages or whatever the hell they're doing. But but they're taking up close product photos, but they're making another sort of weird mistake where they're adding the title to the image, but then the image also has a title underneath it. So like jumbo cherry um, cordials, I don't know how to pronounce it, cordials or whatever. I don't know how to pronounce most of
Cord
these candy names.
Cordays, I think is the French.
Cordays are made the old-fashioned way. They then have a similar title underneath it. So
Right.
you don't need it. Your
Redundant.
eyes don't need to be reading. It's just repetitive. It doesn't need it. And as well, the styling of the title of that photo doesn't really match the website as well. Like their logo has more like a fancy ornate text, and the rest of the other text for the title of the site are in all caps. So they're like all caps, like sans serif. But this is in title case. Like jumbo and cherry are the first letters are first capitalized,
Mm-hmm.
and then they use like a gradient, you know, highlight across the text.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nowhere else on the site. Like that, those colors, the text design, it's not consistent throughout the
Right.
rest of the website. So it's best that you just remove the text on those images. Um, Maybe the quality of the image isn't as great as the image above it, which makes it a little stand out a little bit more. But they're still pretty good images. Like they still show, you know,
Yeah.
still see that like the center chocolates are turtles because they're sort of shaped like turtles. They're not in the packaging. You can actually see them. Um, I don't know about the with love from scratch. I don't know if you necessarily need that on the image. It's kind of a nice, cute little thing to put on an image. I'm not super.
It's not a
I don't
bad
think it's
it's not a bad
not
angle,
a bad idea.
but again, I mean, there's a little bit of just that redundancy of in the title it says the same thing, made from scratch. So
And there seems to be some sort of filter on that image, like Instagram, like skin smoothing
well, I think what this is
filter.
they've repurposed social media images for the website.
Yeah.
But if you can get access to the raw images, it's gonna better align with your brand and come off a little classier. I think with just images. I think this might just be a case of doing too much or just quickly kind of scrambling to take what you already have and just throw it up there. I think it contributes to a messier presentation, which you don't necessarily want to do. Okay, do you want to go to the next section?
Yeah.
So a lot of similar criticism here on the contrast. Can't really read it. The video is actually it's at least more appetizing. It's still a little
Yeah.
bit. It's still maybe a little colder than you would like, but that popcorn looks pretty
Yeah.
good. Or kettle corn, or whatever it is. Caramel corn, probably caramel corn. Yeah, caramel popcorn. Um, see, I didn't even know it was caramel corn because it was hard to read the text. It says real caramel popcorn on there. So, just again, you did it great right here. Do that. Do that. Do that down here. Or put an overlay with a little bit of opacity over the video, and then you'll be able to read that text.
Yeah, with each of these sections on the site, there's sort of a problem of inconsistency. Like there's not like a strong like design foundation. Because like in the other sections that had a video or had a background image, um, like those cocoa bombs that were above, and then the header image, they're fully stretched and spanned across the screen. They take up the full width. But for this image, perhaps it was probably a mistake or an
I
accident,
think I just
or
realized what it was. I think I know what it is.
what is it?
So Chase is saying that the image doesn't go across the whole width of the screen.
Yeah.
It's got these black bars on either side. I think this was a portrait video taken on a phone and exported at 1920 by 1080. So it had those black bars on it, and then when they upload the video, the black bars are there.
Yeah.
That's what I think it
And
is.
so it's just cropping it to this like dimension of the
Yeah.
screen
So
with
the
black
the
bars on
video
the side.
the video file, the video that the way it is actually spread, gone to the full width of the screen, but because it was taking a portrait, it's got these black bars in the video.
Yeah.
So this doesn't this like the videos that they have up there are pretty low effort. I mean, they take a minute to film. So this is an example where get your phone out, go back to your caramel popcorn, take a video in landscape, and then re-upload the video. I think you'd be benefiting
Yeah.
just by that. So I would also say this is it's a lot of the same criticism that the head we had for the header, but the one thing that's slightly different is that subhead. It does stretch a little long across,
Yeah.
I think, and it kind of just makes it appear weak next to the boldness of the heading. So I probably just want to just kind of minimize the width on that. Just wrap it to 2 lines. You can go to like a buttery caramel popcorn treat made fresh, and then enter with roasted and salted pecans and almonds. So it's on 2 lines. And then that should probably look a lot better. Keep it centered.
Yeah, and it would help if you just increase the size of the balderdash and the text that's above it so that it fits a little bit better with the text that's underneath because it's so long. Even if you enter it, it's still maybe even appear a little long.
Yep.
But yeah, the text that kind of there's sort of inconsistencies in terms of all these sections have like little inconsistencies that kind of either distract you and they don't appropriately communicate to you the brand or the identity or the products of the business. So,
Yep.
um,
Caramel apples. Um,
so
yep.
I feel like caramel apples. Everybody loves caramel apples. Maybe I'm biased towards caramel apples. Maybe because this is like one of the few things that like I know what it is on this site, with all the other words that we couldn't fully pronounce. But I feel like this is a great image of the caramel apple. Maybe take it out of the packaging still. I noticed that it's next to two apples that are out of the packaging. Like you're about to take them off the table and eat them. I don't know why they decided to take a photo of the one that's in the package,
Right.
but maybe the other two on the outside can be in the package and then the one in the center isn't. But
Well, the
um,
lighting, the lighting with that package with that plastic wrap is not necessarily flattering. It's a little bit overblown,
yeah,
overexposed, and it has just kind of that reflectiveness on it that looks a little
yeah,
bit cheaper.
yeah. The
Um,
apple's like in a cave, like it's like in a cave of packaging. Like it's dark on top and it's like kind of light in the front. So.
yeah,
Yeah, I think take it out of the package and like that image could be way bigger too. Like, as if you notice all the other images on the site, they're a lot bigger than this. I don't know why they decided to make this one necessarily smaller. And you
well,
could put this under under like the new product or like sort of the featured product section
yeah.
as well. You could just get rid of this section entirely.
Well, one thing I noticed, Chase, at the caramel apple, look at the logo. The logo's different. It says
Yeah.
Juliet Chocolate Factory, like we would expect, and then it says Romeo, Michigan, all in one. So maybe they used to be located in Romeo. Now you can see here in the bottom right, locate us in the footer. It says they're on Van Dyke Street, Washington, Michigan, or Van Dyke. It doesn't actually say street or road or anything, but I assume that
And they
that's.
just never updated their logo, maybe?
So maybe this was their old logo. Yeah, but yeah, but then if they were going to change the logo because of that, why did they still leave
Oh, the
Romeo in
logo's at
there?
the bottom. If you scroll down to the bottom,
Yeah, it's there
if you're under
again.
the very,
Yeah,
yeah, it's right there. You can see that both of those logos are different. And if they were located in Romeo, Michigan, that logo is better because they resized the font on the caramel apple logo
hmm
so that it was a much smaller, less important part of the
right.
overall logo. So you read Juliet Chocolate Factory and then
Yeah,
Romeo, Michigan in small text,
yeah. They should
unlike
have.
the logo that's at the footer.
They should have kept it. I like that
Yeah,
one.
should have kept it and they should have changed it to their actual store location.
Well, I find so then on the caramel apple thing, it's interesting how they bring caramel apples kind of separate and they market separate from everything else. But I love that the angle that they're trying to achieve when that on that first line of the paragraph for caramel apples like the ones you remember as a kid, that could apply to everything in your store. That's a great angle. I would use that as your angle for everything, not just your caramel apples. And even in the instance of that heading, like let's say we're just looking at this section isolated it for on its own, not necessarily what they should do with their whole website. Make that your heading. Caramel apples,
Yeah.
like you remember as a kid, instead of just caramel apples. You're still caramel apples are still going to be the first thing in your heading, but then you kind of you create an emotional response, and your words have more impact when you add words like that to it. That conjure that nostalgic quality that your whole story is about. So, um, again and
I think
again,
I think it's especially nostalgic because how much I don't know any adults that are eating caramel apples. It's
no,
like specifically a thing with kids,
yeah,
you
it's
know?
definitely a kid's thing.
You know?
But then I'm also noticing just a lot of repetitiveness that you would have to have read the descriptive copy on all these projects to get. So like they're using this angle. They've used this angle a few times, kind of nostalgia angle, which is great. And then they also talking about made from scratch. It appears that everything they do is made from scratch.
Right.
What have a section about that? Like, so, I mean, I honestly we've been going maybe a little light on the copy and just kind of trying to improve what they have there. But this whole homepage could probably have a total reworking.
Hmm.
I just wrote a blog post about everything you need on a header. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a plug.
Oh.
I just wrote, and it just went. Maybe I can put the link to it in the description on the video. How about that?
Yeah.
I'll do that. Um, but this is a great angle that differentiates you from any other store. Why don't you say we make our stuff from scratch? And then so one of the things in that blog post that you'll see is in the header you clearly state what you offer, and then in the next section you talk about the problem that you're set out to solve. Like what are people that are in the mood to go and look at and buy chocolate and eat chocolate sick of, or what are they not interested in doing? They're probably not interested in those chocolates that you would get at a drugstore that are in a plastic container that's just made in some factory and shipped to this big chain drugstore like a Safeway or a CVS or whatever it happens to be. So say like here's your problem that you're set out to solve. Most places you go and get candy, there's nothing fun about it, or it's so stale and plain. We make our stuff from scratch, every day,
Yeah.
and it's old, and just kind of like differentiate yourself from people, and that adds so much value to your brand just by using those words. You're just doing your same thing, but by positioning yourself in the correct way, you're adding value to your product, because people want that experience. They want that experience of people care about this product and they put in lots of effort, and it's not just some robot that's making them. This is handmade. This is luxury quality. People want that experience. So there's probably a lot to be said about this homepage. Uh, I think we tried to give practical advice for what's there. I think that there's a lot that could change about it, though.
Right.
Okay, but I
Yeah.
think we just don't have 5 hours to to redo everything, and so we're trying to keep it short and practical for what it is. Um, okay, so I don't
So
really have.
again, if you want a better understanding of how to build and what you should necessarily put on your homepage, check out the blog article that's underneath. And Joe made a great blog that outlines all the necessary like parts of a website that you should feature on your homepage, specifically on your homepage. So
Yeah, and
other than this video, that's more of a specific guide than what we're even saying. Because we're giving a guide for this site, but the guide that he made is more generalized. So um, check
yeah,
it out.
thank you, Chase. Thank you for the plug. Um, so the footer, I don't have any problems with the footer. I like it. I actually like it when footers have. I mean, I'm speaking from a strategic standpoint. Um, I like it when footers have the contact information. That's like super accessible and easy. You don't have to go to a separate page and like read through a bunch of stuff. They have their email, they have their phone, and they have their hours. Like that's everything you're gonna need. They
Yeah.
have a locate us. It's even linked. You can click that. I'm guessing that goes to Google Maps or something. Perfect. And then they put the social media down in the footer. That's probably I would just leave it there, where you have it up at the top. Just get rid of it. I don't think it's needed. Um, yeah, I do have, and they even have a back to top button, which you love, Chase.
I do love a back to top button, especially if your page is really long.
Yeah.
and you don't want to scroll all the way up. I don't know how often. I don't know the statistics on how often they're used, but they're nice to have on a site.
It's just
You
a
know, you
nice,
might as
yeah,
well
it's
have
just a
it.
nice feature. I've actually never put one on a site. Maybe I'll do that. Like that blog post we were just talking about. It's kind of, it's not like wordy. It's just long because I do it in like the typical blog style where you do like a lot of new lines.
I think they're really only needed if the navigation in your footer is somehow lacking from something on, your
Which,
from the nav on the top of the page, which for instance in this case, like the nav is really good, like it's really clear. There's directions to go to their social media, it has their logo and
but
it's
it does
it's
not
designed and organized well.
it does not include
So
any of the links from the top nav. So that's so good for them to put the back to top because if they wanted to
yeah,
go
so
to
it
their
keeps you yeah.
if they wanted to go to see the other products, you would have to go back to the top to do that.
So do they have, I was looking at this, they have like the credit card stuff at the bottom, which I was immediately like drawn to and distracted by because it's all in color and everything.
Hmm.
Does that mean that you can purchase stuff on their site or like they accept those cards? Because it's kind of
I think
presumed that like you go into a store that they'll accept credit cards, right? I mean,
yeah, yeah, I actually don't know. I mean, that's not something that either of us have really ever specialized in is e-commerce.
yeah,
I know that a lot of places like to include this information, and I think it really is just this is what we accept. But you see it so much that it's almost like people think it's a requirement to have that, but I really don't know.
yeah.
Um,
What happens if you click one of the cards? Does it do anything?
I'm scared to find out. They're not clickable.
No,
They're
they're just.
not clickable. Can't click
So I guess you'd be like, I have a MasterCard, I can buy candy.
them.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what's the purpose? It doesn't seem like it just seems to add clutter to the
But
footer.
even if it has no purpose, they've put it in the appropriate spot. Like low priority stuff
Yeah,
goes further down the page, and this is the very last
and
thing
it's
on
at
the
the
homepage.
bottom.
Yeah,
It's the very bottom.
you couldn't get it further away from the rest of your site. So, um, the other thing I'll mention that just occurred to me: no call to action buttons on the whole website, other than that one new product section where it says "Add to cart" or "Buy now."
Yeah,
So,
there's no incentive to do anything
so in the heading,
other than I guess buy that product. Like there's a
yeah,
buy button for
this is the only button, and you can click these other ones, but there's no button really saying you can click these.
yeah,
And there's no button here. So I would say maybe your top button right here. You should definitely have a button in your header. Like I said, this is your most important spot on your website. You're trying to say this is what we do. This is how it's going to make your life better, and this is how you can get it. Those are the questions you're trying to answer in the header. And so this is what we do. Old-fashioned candy, seafoam candy. That gets the job done. I mean, it could be better, but we generally kind of understand it's a candy place and they make seafoam candy. It doesn't appear that that's all they do, which makes it a little confusing. And then Crunchy Melt in Your Mouth Delicious is an attempt at how is it going to make your life better. Definitely a little underwhelming. It could be better. But then the third thing is how do you get it? That's where your button. That's when your button comes in. If you put
yeah,
that button there, you've answered so many. You answered those three questions, and you made it so clear for anybody using your site what the point of this site is and what I'm supposed to do on it. So for Michigan Seafoam Candy, if you're trying to specifically sell that seafoam candy, say have a button, check out our seafoam candy, or
right.
if you're just trying to be general and this is like a teaser for all of your products, say like view our products, or whatever it is, have a button there, give people a direction to go in. Because this website really does come off as more a poster than a website in a lot of ways because there's not really much to interact with, or at least it's not
Right.
making it obvious what they can interact with. So definitely having a button there. They have a button here. Add to cart and checkout buttons here, like we said before. Have a buy now button for hot cocoa bombs that goes straight to that product. Have a button here to go to your turtles. Have just load it up with buttons. It makes it so clear. I mean, some people are worried about being too salesy or too pushy, but I don't think that's really people don't get annoyed by a button on a screen. They would get annoyed if someone kept calling them and said, "Hey, are you gonna buy it?" Hey, like if they can just scroll past, like it's nothing to them. And not only is it a good sales move to have buttons, it just makes the navigation of your website and the messaging of your website so much more clear because you obviously know what you need to do. If you want to interact with this product, click that button. Everybody knows that. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's the homepage. We can look at the products pages. All these pages are just product pages, as far as we know, and then there's a blog page. But so I have a feeling that the criticism here is going to be the same. Just
Yeah,
put
they're
this in a
in
different
product
environment.
photos. Or, I mean, I'm sorry, they're not in super well lit rooms. They're on like what seems to be like a medical desk or something,
No.
and they're in the packaging. So it's not as, it's not as
Hmm.
appetizing. Like I could go to the store and just buy those jelly beans. I'm assuming, you know.
Right. It doesn't look handmade. It doesn't look made from scratch.
No,
It doesn't look old fashioned.
no, not at all. Put your wonderful logo on the packaging. Well, first fix it and make it so it's in the location that you actually operate, and it's clearly, the location and in smaller text in the logo.
Hmm.
But yeah, put your logo, because I noticed that like it says like Juliet Chocolate at the top. Like it doesn't even have their logo. It has a completely different insignia on the
Oh
packaging.
right, yeah.
Like above the gummy bears, is there a product where it's a little bit more clear? You
There's
scroll down.
the caramel apples had the logo on it.
Yeah. Well, they say like Juliet. Oh, the caramel apples did. That's interesting. Yeah. But these other products don't.
Yep. They have a lot of products though. I mean, I'm sure they're thinking like this is probably they probably so let's see. There's one, two, three, six, nine products per page and 21 pages. How many products is that? 9 times 21. This will be an exciting part of the broadcast. There's probably some math savant watching. Going
189.
189.
9 times 21.
That's not a. I mean, that feels like a lot, but it's not a whole lot. But I can imagine they were going like, this is so many products to get up on here, and then they're just like, let's just go take photos of all of them. Like it's just it's a big task. But I don't think it would have been all that much more difficult to just grab one product at each one, and then find a location in your store that looks nice with good natural lighting, and take a photo of each one. That probably
Right.
wouldn't have been all that much more difficult. So okay, so there's products. We can check out the individual product page. Interesting to have the social media right next to the product. Is this a share? Are these share buttons?
Maybe. No, they don't seem to be. Pinterest.
You can pin it. Yeah,
Like
I
it's a
guess I
pin.
guess they are share. I don't know. I don't. Uh, even if I don't. First of all, I don't feel like you really need that. But even if you had that, I think you put that down below everything. It's definitely not
Yeah.
the
You haven't
second
even
thing
read
after
the
the name.
product yet. Why would you immediately share it?
Yeah.
You know, sort of, you need to order things in a way that's reasonable for somebody reading your site that doesn't know these products.
Right.
I'm not gonna share your stuff if I haven't yet read the description.
I also think that there's a pressure on stores to have e-commerce, but not
Yeah.
always is it going to add a benefit. Like in this case, it appears that this doesn't ship or get sent to you. It says pickup available. That makes me think that it's just you order it and then you go pick it up.
Huh.
Um, maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe you can ship it and pick it up, but it's not clear.
Hmm.
So okay, so yeah, all this stuff is same thing, similar issues.
Oh, jeez.
Although they got even more products because all these are separate. Dark chocolate is
I said
separate.
I said oh geez because these do not look good, like in the package.
No, they don't. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, we don't have to say what they look like, but
they look like you went to a dog park, is what I'll say.
yeah,
And you're throwing something away.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. It's not.
it's not.
I understand, but I can understand the pressure to just get it out. Like let's just go take photos of them. You know,
Yeah.
I can understand that. You just want something up there so you can get it done. Um, I'm curious. I'm always a little skeptical with a lot of stuff like this and how effective it really is. Like, is it worth the effort? Like, how many orders are they getting?
Right.
Especially if it really is just pick up in store, order online and go pick up in store. You know, I wonder how much of a market there is for that, especially for you're an old fashioned place. Is that really the kind of people that you're appealing to? The people that just want to go like, oh, I really don't want to go into the store and talk to somebody, stuff. It's not McDonald's, where it's like, or just some restaurant that you just don't want to deal with, like Subway, or it's not like order online and then come pick it up so you don't have to wait in a line, or. I feel like this is just a different market, but who knows? They have more information on that than I do.
And something I just realized with the product photos, like this is someone who's this is coming from somebody who doesn't know anything about like the chocolate industry. Like I don't really eat sweets, but I'm thinking like even if you took these all out of the packaging, they'd all look same. They look like brown circles. So what
Hmm.
do they look like on the inside? Just cut them in half.
That's yeah,
Like
that's not a bad
that's
idea.
probably be that'd probably make them, just look more characteristic, make it look more natural. Because maybe you would cut some of these in half before you eat them. Um,
Some of
like you
these
wouldn't
probably
know whether or not it's a dried cherry or an almond.
yeah.
They're both just oblong, just spheres of brown.
Hmm. Yeah. No, but there's tons. There's just there's you just have to get a little creative with it. There's like going to be tons of options that you could
Right.
do. I think this was just the quickest way to do it.
What
Um,
other options do they have? Well,
well,
they
like
also have fudge. I saw that. I don't
like
know for whatever reason fudge is in its own section.
show people making it like they've done. Do close up versions. Put it in your store. Give it a nice blurry background. Like you said, cut it in half. Maybe especially if it's something kind of gooey and like might look kind of cool cut in half. With like some kind of center, like cool cream center or something like that.
Yeah.
Or like in this case where it's cashews, what if you kind of like you could actually use it like you were saying when it's covered in chocolate you can't really tell what it is, so put some actual cashews next to it,
Yeah,
or
like
something.
and especially if it's fruit, like something colorful, like there's strawberries or blueberries, throw those on the table and be like, these are the products, and like put the blueberries around it or something.
I had a client that I worked with once where they were adamant about getting every single product on their website, and they had like 500 products.
Yeah.
If you feel strained or overloaded by having to put all of your products on your store, start with your best sellers. Start with the ones that look the coolest. Start with your signature items and make them look really cool. You know, hire a photographer. It might be worth it. It might be a little expensive. It may actually not be all that expensive. I actually have never hired a photographer, but just do it in a limited capacity. See how it goes. If your best items are not selling, if your trademark items are not able to sell in this manner, there's probably not a whole lot of reason to then move on to
Yeah.
everything else. Start with a smaller sample size and perfect it and make it enhance the experience, enhance your brand by doing it well, rather than doing all the quality over quantity.
The organization of how you present something is so important because that's all websites are. They're little portals of information to learn about a product or learn about a service. And if you throw millions of options on a site, people are going to get overwhelmed.
Yep.
They're not going to know what to search for. They're going to see 300, what was it, 189 packages of all just brown circles. Like it's not specific enough. I have a similar story where I designed a site for a flooring company, and their competitor had a site that they really wanted and they really admired, where it was built by some company that had like access to like APIs of like crazy flooring options. So that you'd go to their site and you'd search for a flooring type and you could search blue and like 700 examples of blue flooring would come up. Just like in and they all look almost identical because there's only so many different shades of blue carpet that you can search for. So,
Yeah.
having all these options doesn't really add something to your site as much as it just overwhelm people and be like, well, I mean, maybe they're overwhelmed someone to an extent they're like, I should go in the store and ask because this site sucks.
Right.
But then your
Yeah.
website isn't very effective. Then your website isn't driving sales. They have to go
Right.
through other means of trying to understand something. So that's not good. Um,
and for the amount of people that you go like, oh, forget it, I'll just go into the store. You're probably driving even more people away from you. You know, for every one person that goes like, okay, I'll go in, you probably got three people that go, okay, forget the whole thing, I'll just go someplace else.
then you might as well not even have a website,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. Okay, so that's all. That does it for all of our product pages. I think this fudge. This is another product page. This they do a
See, the
little.
fudge,
They do a little bit better. I
yeah,
think the plastic wrap is still a little odd, but this one that has no plastic wrap looks better.
yeah, you see the product. It's not like in the like the final. Maybe this is the finalized packaging. It doesn't have like the brand information on it.
Mm-hmm.
But this looks way better. Like if you take off the plastic on like some of these, like maybe like the center pieces of fudge, so you don't have to take off the plastic of all of them. It looks so much better, because they're showing the product. You see that like it has different texture. It's a different color.
And I gotta say
It.
that these look. I want to eat some of these. Like these look good. And then
Yeah,
also, it looks handmade too. You know, when you just put it in the package, it looks like we've said a million times now. It looks like it came from a factory. These look handmade.
right. Maybe their fudge sells really well, which is why they have a separate link for it in the navigation. That could be why,
And
and they have good product photos for these, but how are you convinced that your other products are good if you don't take photos that are like this, you
yeah.
know? So,
Okay, I think we can leave them alone now on that. They have a blog post. They just have the one blog post. Actually, it was just posted a week ago.
wow.
Um,
No, but this is good. I like this blog post because it's like for someone buying chocolates, it kind of gives you like some options of like if you're gonna gift somebody a chocolate,
mm-hmm.
or a bar or an assortment of chocolates, what are you gonna do? It's like, oh, you got an assortment box. It's one of the options that you could buy. I wouldn't have thought about that if I was buying somebody chocolates, I guess. I don't know.
I think the concept is good. I think, well, anytime you're dealing with a blog, it's really you're trying to generate organic SEO traffic,
Right.
And so one thing that's important when you do that, and I assume that's what they're trying to do here, or maybe they're using this to post on their social media and get people to go like, oh yeah, let me think. I just feel like the title, although it communicates what they're trying to do in a way, it's not necessarily what people are Googling. I don't think people are wondering how to buy chocolate.
It's kind of like if a robot was trying to learn how to like appease a human. They're like, how do I buy chocolate for somebody else? Like
Right.
it's not
Right.
organic, it's not interesting enough
So,
of a search.
so I would think more in terms of, and Chase was just doing a lot of research on this for a project that he's working on. It might benefit you to look into keywords like what are people searching for,
Yeah.
and then tailor your post to what people want to know.
Yeah.
So maybe something more like maybe include the word gift because people are probably wondering, or probably googling like where can I buy chocolate for Christmas or chocolate for a birthday, or they're probably googling more so along those like where can I go get it because they know how to do it. Um,
Yeah, a couple really easy sources for finding keywords is just going to Google and just using autocomplete. So if you go to Google and you type chocolate, what comes after that? Because that's what people are often searching. So if people are searching, chocolate near me or, chocolate pretzels, then maybe chocolate pretzels is a common product in your area that you should be featuring, on your site.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because those are only auto-completing to those search results because people are searching for them because it's valuable to people in that area. Another service you can use is Google Trends. So you can search for a particular word and then compare it against others. So you can take those search results and kind of see what are necessarily trending over time. Keywords are really complicated because the internet is constantly changing. Things become popular because of just like waves of just culture that just hits over the course of several years, and like things die, like fidget spinners were all the rage years ago, and so maybe you'd want to get into a business featuring products that are associated with fidgeting, but I don't know if they're as popular as they used to be before. But so I'm
Right.
sure maybe even the chocolate industry has specific keywords that are constantly changing. So even just, I mean, another form of is just talking to people, just asking customers what they're necessarily interested in or excited for to go into your store, like doing just like even just personal surveys to
Yep.
try to figure out what people necessarily want,
And another
you
great
know.
another great free resource that kind of works in a similar way as a survey or a kind of getting a taste of what, or getting an idea for what is on people's minds, Reddit is great. People are
Yeah.
asking people tons and tons of questions, and it's about a large variety of stuff. So not just chocolate, but no matter what business you're in, there's probably people asking questions about it, or points of confusion, or they're wondering how to get a better experience or better value out of whatever they're trying to find or do or understand.
Yeah.
So start looking at like what kind of questions are people asking about in regards to like chocolate. I mean, maybe chocolate isn't a great example for Reddit, but there's got to be something. Somebody is having questions or confusion or concerns. Like, am I eating too much chocolate? Is chocolate a health concern or something like that? Like, if you can address the concerns and questions that people have, that's going to be something they're googling. That's going to be something that's going to show up
Yeah.
in a blog post. But okay, so there's their blog post. We're
Kind
getting
of a nice image, nice background image. Looks like it's like on a card or something that they feature.
yeah. I mean,
It's kind of dark, but
it's really cropped in. It's kind of hard to really understand what it is. But I feel like
yeah.
just any photo with kind of life and color in it compared to what they have stands out. So
Yeah, it's kind of standing out more, but it's by itself it could be still improved a little bit.
yeah.
I think that's the case with most sites is that there's people have good ambitions and they want to figure stuff out, but like there's not a lot of consistency at least on this site when it comes to communicating a clear message, which is why it really helps like talking to someone who's into web design or marketing, to get assistance for how to organize stuff on your site because it's really hard
It's
to
it is
communicate
it is
clearly.
very hard. I mean, when I first started, and it's again in that blog post that I wrote where I kind of talk about when I first started. No one tells you how to do any of this. You're just going like, I guess I'll write something kind of like this, and I'll say like crunchy and melt in your mouth, delicious, or something. Like stuff I've heard other places, and I'll piece it together and just kind of imitate to the best of my ability without really any logic or reason going into it. It's more so just you're
Yeah.
trying to present well based off of what you know, and it's a slog, I believe is the right word. It's just you're just kind of trudging through it. It's not fun when you don't have any guidance and you don't have a direction. And who could blame anybody for not having it? It's like you shouldn't be expected just to know this stuff. Like it takes time to be able to notice it and have ideas and offer a direction. So okay, well we've been doing it for an hour. We could do the about us and contact us page, but I feel like I think we've said enough. We've covered enough.
Yeah, I think we've got
There'll
the
be
main
there'll
points
be other
across.
websites in the future that we can talk about, the contact page and the about us page. But okay, so if you haven't noticed all of the oh wait, I'll switch back. We're really fancy here. I'm gonna go back to split screen. If you haven't noticed all the stuff that was around the screen, Way to Go website. That's the business I started and own. Chase helps me out a lot with the graphics on projects. We do small businesses, we do nonprofits, and we do, if you have a podcast and need help with a website for your podcast, we'll do really affordable podcast websites that really take very little time to get up and running. So
Yeah. And if you have any questions, just comment on this video or send us a message on the website. We're happy to talk and happy to help you.
and
So
and I bet there's going to be, and something I've been thinking about a lot in build up to this we're trying this out. There's probably gonna be a lot of times we get stuff wrong, or we're gonna say a lot of stuff that's subjective.
yeah,
Um, and
marketing's hard, so you can disagree with us. It's fine.
there's
You know.
there's a lot of different angles. So if you feel that maybe we missed something, or there's another thing that might help. I don't know if Juliet Chocolate is actually going to watch this, but if you have anything else that might add value or educate people or us, go ahead and say that too. That's fine. Okay. Anything else, Chase? I think we're good.
No, I think we're good. I just want to say thanks for anybody who watches this. And
Yeah, we
this is
might.
our first video, so it's kind of experimental, but
I had a
we
bot
appreciate you nonetheless.
I had a bot from Ireland click on one of my go to my website last week, so maybe the bot tuned in. So
I hope he's a nice guy.
yeah, I'm sure he is. Okay, goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Okay, see you.